Berlin attack suspect killed. I'm Evan Haining. Germany's Interior Minister Thomas de Maizière has confirmed it. Italian police did kill Tunisian terror suspect Anis Amri.
The person shot is the suspect of the Berlin attack at the Christmas market, Breitscheidplatz.
When police in Milan asked to see Amri's ID, correspondent Barbie Nadeau says he pulled a gun from his pocket, wounded one officer, and the other returned fire.
He had a train ticket from France to the main station in Milan, which is not where he was found. What they're looking at is surveillance tape to determine whether he met anyone there as well. All of that they want to keep under wraps, of course, until they know with certainty if there were any other people involved.
Well, back in Germany, two Kosovo-born brothers are being detained on suspicion that they were planning to carry out an attack on a shopping mall in nearby Oberhausen. I'm Evan Haining. President-elect Trump has tweeted that the U.S. should expand its nuclear capability until the rest of the world, quote, comes to its senses. That tweet is causing alarm. Sean Spicer, Mr. Trump's choice for press secretary, wants to clarify those words.
He will not take anything off the table. What it means is that he's not going to sit back and let another country act. He needs to send a clear and concise message, which he's done, that he is going to be a president that defends America's interests and defends the American people.
If you're flying today or tomorrow, correspondent Jim Roop has tips to speed you through security faster.
Here at LAX, officials expect almost 4.5 million passengers over this holiday travel period, about 10% increase over last year. And the best way to keep it moving is to not bring wrapped gifts onto the plane. It's best just to pack it all well and then check it. The less you carry on, the faster you'll get on.
Millions in the West, Plains, and Midwest are getting a huge storm system for Christmas starting today. Blizzards, drenching rain. I'm Evan Haining.
You've got the list. Macy's has the gifts. Get 30 to 75% last-minute savings, plus an extra 20 or 15% off with your Macy's card or Savings Pass. Or shop online and save with promo code GIFT. Save on great designers, sweaters and outerwear for the entire family, gloves and scarves, and dazzling fine jewelry. Find the coolest electronic gifts, headphones, ornaments, and more. The clock is ticking. Hurry in for Macy's last-minute gift sale. Savings off sale and clearance prices. Exclusions apply.
If you're finally addressing your hearing loss, you know that custom hearing aids can cost as much as $5,000 each and are not covered by Medicare. The good news is MD Hearing Aid offers medical-grade hearing aids at savings of up to 90% over traditional hearing aids. Call right now for our exclusive 45-day risk-free trial and get free shipping and a year's worth of free batteries, a $50 value. Call MD Hearing Aid at 1-800-418-8650. That's 1-800-418-8650.
The Transportation Security Administration is telling residents in 9 states to get a new ID, STAT.
If you live in Kentucky, Maine, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, or Washington, you will no longer be able to travel with only your driver's license beginning January 22nd, 2018. Travelers will now need to use alternate forms of ID, like a passport or permanent resident card, to pass through TSA checkpoints, even for domestic flights. Only 24 states currently comply with the Real ID Act, which includes anti-counterfeiting technology and helps verify the identity of every applicant. I'm Sierra Crawford.
It's still a standoff in Malta where a hijacked Libyan plane has landed. Malta's prime minister says many passengers have been allowed to leave the plane, but the hijackers are still threatening to blow it up with hand grenades. Right now, Wall Street futures are lower ahead of the market's open. I'm Evan Haining.
And I'm Pat George. Your traffic and weather is coming up next. But first, we got to hear about Papa and Gipe. Someone else's dog bit you and caused serious injury? Call the trial attorneys at Papa and Gipe, a personal injury law firm, 727-461-HELP, 727-461-4357. Or you can log on to papaandgipe.com. Not a bad ride this morning, unless you're on US 19 northbound. We got 2 lanes blocked from a serious accident between 580 and Curlew. Northbounders, not the place to be. Southbounders, wide open, but slowing down to look at it. Seminole, south of Walsingham, an accident there. Howard Franklin Bridge doing okay. Interchange is fine and no problem on the vets right now. This report brought to you by Lead Safe America. Do you live in a historic home? Are you renovating? Well, your kids will be at risk of lead poisoning. It tastes just a microscopic amount of lead dust to poison a child. Learn more at leadsafeamerica.org. High today in the 70s, near 80. Low tonight in the 60s. Santa Claus coming this weekend? It's going to be a warm one for old St. Nick. High in the 80s Saturday and Sunday.
JP here for my good friends at Italiano Insurance, a family-owned business that has been part of our community for over 55 years. Jeff Italiano personally makes sure their customer service is at the highest level. If you have issues with a claim, a question about coverage, you're not waiting on hold for hours just to get pushed to another agent. Informed representatives will answer the phone and talk you through your specific needs. So if you want old-fashioned, real and customer service, call Italiano, 813-877-7799, or go to ItalianoInsurance.com.
Tampa Bay's business address is Money Talk 1010 AM and available on HD at 99.5 HD2. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Money Talk 1010 AM. Tampa Bay's business address.
The program that follows has been paid for by Katrina Madewell. The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of Katrina Madewell and are not those of Beasley Media Group, this station, its management, or other hosts or advertisers.
Welcome to Tampa Home Talk with your host, native Tampa real estate girl, Katrina Madewell, a full-time, passionate, out-of-the-box thinker, love for home ownership kind of realtor with over 21 years of combined mortgage and real estate experience. Tune in every week at this time for expert advice on everything you need to know about home ownership, finance, maintaining great credit, building wealth, and making your everyday life better, and how you can be financially successful today and tomorrow. Remember, love where you live or let Katrina fix it. Now, here's your host of Tampa Home Talk, Katrina Madewell.
Welcome to Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. If it's your first time ever catching us on this show, we do our best to bring you a fantastic home-related show. We talk about a lot of stuff in and around the real estate space. We also talk about anything to help you keep and maintain great credit, live within your means, and build wealth. My team and I are passionate about all of the above topics. And without further ado, we have a great show lined up for you today. As we do every week, we like to help our current homeowners as well as our new ones and our ones that are planning and preparing to sell. So, you know, it's about that time of year where we have this crazy weather. It's hot, it's cold, and the weather just doesn't know quite what it wants to do. So we thought we would prepare a show for you today that talks all about preparing and transitioning for the changes in the weather. And so our guest today is Tommy Castellano. He's with Castellano Air Conditioning and Heating. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Katrina.
So tell me a little bit about your company. How long have you guys been around?
I've been around 40 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, a long time in the Tampa Bay area.
And where's your office located?
In the heart of Tampa, right off the interstate between Armenian and the Howard Avenue exits.
Oh, yes.
About 8 blocks north.
And were you born and raised here in Tampa like
me? I was born
me?
and raised right here in Tampa.
So you've seen a lot of those crazy transitions as well?
A lot of things.
You remember when nobody lived downtown? I remember those days.
Yeah, really?
So let's talk about this transition, in the weather. How does that affect your AC system when it's hot, when it's cold, it doesn't know what it wants to do? Like, how does a homeowner that lives here, and we get a lot of people that move from up north, how do they prepare their AC system to get the longest possible life, when they might have the air on one day and the heat the next?
Well, basically, the air conditioning systems are built to last 10 to 15 years. They say 12 to 15, but a lot of them go out, 10, 12 years.
They're almost recyclable nowadays, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Like, we're in such a disposable world compared to 40 years ago, right?
Right.
Your AC system lasted how long? Probably 20-some years?
We ran into units that were 20, 30 years old, but, they weren't making any money. So they had to, do something, I guess. But in modern technology, there's sacrifices that had to be made. But the homeowner can prepare by usually doing regular routine maintenance on their air conditioning equipment. And in Florida, in the Tampa Bay area, we have some extremes. The air conditioning system is going to be in the cooling mode probably 90% of the year. And we start warming up now, cooling off now, and the units will be operating a little bit less. But during the months of July, August, September, it's not unusual for an air conditioning unit to run 100% of the time.
Right, yeah. The thing never gets a break. It never gets to shut off and relax for a minute. So let's talk about the routine maintenance. What's the cost on that, and what does something like that entail?
Routine maintenance is, you always hear about 1995 special, but that's not a routine maintenance. That's not going to get the job done. That may be an inspection and the lead into other equipment, but a routine maintenance should include an examination of the evaporator coil and cleaning it with a light solution. Normally, most of them don't need much. If it's been filtered properly, it doesn't need a lot.
Can we back up a second and just explain what all that looks like and how to find it in a system to the layperson listening? Because you're saying like the evaporator coil, and I'm thinking to myself, I have no idea where that is or how to find it, and how does somebody like me clean it, or maybe I don't, but where is that at?
The evaporator coil is located in the air handling section of the air conditioning unit. Many of them are in the attics in the Tampa Bay area.
They are.
Right, so unless you're going to get up there and disassemble the unit to inspect the evaporator coil, then it's better that a professional does it.
Now, and what else did you mention after that? You're talking about the evaporator coil, and then you said something else.
Well, the evaporator coil and the blower wheel, the blower assembly. What happens there? That's where it takes the air from the inside of the house and transfers it, cools it down, and transfers it to the rooms that it need to be cool. And that's where a lot of things happen, because the humidity levels are going. If it's in the attic, there's temperatures up there 130, 180, 50 degrees sometimes.
How does that impact your system?
Well, the way it does that is it puts it under stress. And, it's better to have it inside the house. And in fact, it'll last a lot longer if it's inside the conditioned space. But most time, the
houses aren't built that way.
Not built that way, and women want closets. And so they'll use...
And jewelry. Don't forget about jewelry. It's
right.
almost the holidays. We want jewelry, too.
Right. So they sacrifice the closet and put the unit up in the attic.
So whose brainy idea was that? Just out of curiosity, where that came from.
I don't know where it came from, but it's in this area here, where you have nice size attics. We looked at a job the other day, and the unit just cannot go back in the attic.
I was going to ask you if you ever relocate it to somewhere else.
Relocate it to down inside a closet.
But it'll last longer, right?
Yeah, it'll last a lot longer.
So what about? I remember the last time we got our AC fixed. It was like almost no time. We have this pipe that comes in the garage, and then it's leaking, and then my husband flushed out all this stuff that looked like squid. It was just so gross. Like, what is that? How does it get there, and how does someone keep that stuff out?
It's a combination of when your filter is not working properly, the dirt will collect on the coil. The coil is wet and it makes malt water. Your air conditioning system actually manufactures water. It takes humidity out of the room, and then it has to dispose of that water through a drain. And when it's disposing of that water, you're also disposing of some of the things that have collected on the evaporator coil. Not all of it, but some of it. And it flows out the drain line. Well, after many years, it starts collecting because there's a time that the unit sits idle, so the water just sits there and gets putrid and algae and other. But one time we had that tested for a customer, and there was over 3,000 different bacteria in there, and they could only identify like 90 of them.
Wow.
There's a lot of things are happening inside an air conditioning unit.
And there's a lot to be said for the air that you breathe, and we're going to talk about some of those things as well today. But so much has changed in the air conditioning space. A lot of the current technologies have changed and that side of stuff. One of the first things you guys do, I would imagine, is determine what size and capacity you need, right? Because bigger isn't always better in the air conditioning space, correct?
No, not in air conditioning. Basically, the house. Every house is a little bit different. You can have two houses right next to each other, and maybe the same square footage. One might face, the most of the glass might be on the north. The other one has most of the glass on the west, and the one on the west is going to need more air conditioning maybe than the one on the other side. But
it's interesting you mentioned that, because really nobody looks for that kind of stuff when they buy a house.
No, they don't know. But since 1985. The Florida has an energy code, and they determine, how much, BTU you have to turn in a manual J, which is actually a load calculator on the house. But what happens there is they want you to save energy, so they design the temperature. The design temperatures are when the outdoor temperature is 91 degrees, that you can maintain 78 degrees inside the house. That is the code. Now, when the outdoor temperature is 95 degrees, are you going to be able to maintain 78? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on how you're using it. It's something to look at. We do when I think it was in 2014, it became mandatory that the manual J be performed on every house, whether you're doing a replacement or not. But then they let that fall to the wayside because there was a lot of commotion about it. Most of the units were sized in 1985 anyway to that code, and so why have to do it again when it's already been done?
Some of the things that I'm familiar with, too, that have changed, like when people go to replace their AC unit, sometimes they would leave the handler and place the outside unit or vice versa, and you're not really allowed to do that anymore, correct?
No, you're not allowed to do that because they're not matched. It's and where you might be buying a 14 SEER outside unit and you're putting it in with a 10 SEER air handler, you're not going to get 14 SEER for sure.
Yeah, so they're not designed to work hand in hand, I guess. It's like the wrong wheels on the car, right. Something like that.
It's just not. It's like putting my heart in your body, and you never know.
It might or it might not work. So what about the ductwork? Is that usually okay? Can you leave that, or does that normally have to be changed, or just it depends on the condition?
It depends on the condition. Now, most of with the new refrigerants that are, the 410A refrigerant, it needs more air over the evaporator coil than what the old refrigerant needed, the R22. So most returns are a little bit too small, and they have to be increased to get the maximum benefit. It's like a static pressure. Like we have blood pressure, the air conditioning system operates off of static pressure. If the static pressure is too high, the capacity drops quite a bit.
There's so much science that goes behind air conditioning that you wouldn't think unless you're actively involved in that business. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. We do have to take a really quick break, but today's show is all about preparing and transitioning for weather when these hot and cold months come and go. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the new technologies that are in the market space for air conditioning. So if you have to replace it, we're going to give you some things to think about. We'll be back in just a minute.
Who's got the worst traffic in America? No big surprise. It's Los Angeles. Miami is 7th. And in a virtual tie for 13th are Atlanta, San Diego, and Tampa. Here in Tampa Bay, we're all in this together. So let's help each other. When you see traffic issues, call Pat George on the Money Talk 1010 Traffic Ranger line. 888-404-1010. That's 888-404-1010. Program the number into your phone under Money Talk so you can voice dial Pat and keep your hands on the wheel. 888-404-1010.
Hi, this is Aaron Davis, owner of Hillsborough Title. Hillsborough Title is a local, family-owned title agency here in Tampa Bay. Our service, strength, and knowledge make us different. We've served Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. From Polk County to the Gulf, Pasco to Manatee, Tampa Bay, we've got you covered. Call us at 813-712-8888, 712-8888, or visit us on the web at thebesttitle.com, thebesttitle.com. That's thebesttitle.com.
I'm Katrina Madewell with Keller Williams Realty and Tampa Home Talk. And for more than 23 years, we have been helping homeowners sell. Flexible terms with the rate to sell it yourself. Let my results speak.
They were able to get us a full price offer and a contract in our house in 9 days.
I just wanted to express my gratitude in finding a cash buyer for my property in less than 24 hours.
I'm not bragging. I'm applying for a job. I want to be your realtor. Call 813-777-1196. Thank you.
When you think of a rock star, you see a guy with long hair, a guitar, and hit records. There's a new brand of rock stars, Business Rock Stars. Your connection to move from business garage band to business rock star is the Business Rock Stars show every weekday from 11 a.m. till 1 p.m. on Money Talk 1010. Be a business rock star. Pat O'Brien, Mark Lack, and their supercharged guests will tell you how. It's the Business Rock Stars show on Money Talk 1010 from 11 a.m. till 1 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Welcome back. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. And we have Tommy Castellano. He's our special guest today with Castellano Air Conditioning and Heating. We're talking all about how to prepare your unit for transitioning in that hot, cold Florida weather doesn't know what it wants to do today. And where we left off right before the break, we were talking about some of the new technologies that you should consider and think about if you are going to possibly need a new AC system for your home. So what's out there, Tommy? Like, you've been doing it for 40 years. And let's say if someone's in the market and they're going to look at buying a new AC, what are some of the things they should look at?
Some of the things they should look at is variable speed air handlers. Variable speed air handlers operate on a principle that demand on the house. So it operates on the thermostat and humidistat in combination. So it's going to try to dehumidify the house actually before it keeps care of the temperature, because if the humidity is at 50%, you actually need less cooling. So you can have your air at 78 degrees at 50% relative humidity, and that may be equal to 75 degrees inside the house. So your comfort level is way above. And then with the variable speed technology, it actually uses 1/8 the electricity that a standard air handler would use. So it has a payback very rapidly.
So they're energy efficient. They're smarter, it sounds like, if they know how much humidity to make or not.
Right. And then there's 2-speed technology with the outdoor units that, depending on the capacity. See, when a unit's designed for July 21st around here, that's the hottest day of the year. Well, what happens in October, you may need 3 tons of air conditioning on July 21st, but in October, now you only need maybe a 2-ton unit.
That's so cool. Like you asked an AC guy, what's the hottest day of the year? And he just busts out with July 21st right at the top of his head. He knows that day. I love it.
Yeah. So, but, on October, you don't need that air conditioning. So for 3 months, July, August, September, you may need a full 3 tons, but the rest of the year you don't. Well, some units are designed to operate at a lower capacity to make up that difference, and the operating cost is a little bit less also.
Now, is there any impact on your unit going from air conditioning to heating? Like, we almost never turn the heat on in our house because we just don't. I don't think it really gets cold enough to turn the heat on. But is there any impact in your system if you got the air on one day and the heat the next?
I don't think there's that much of an impact as far as longevity or life expectancy, because the units are designed to last 10, 12 years. They're taking that into consideration. They have a reversing valve in there if you're using a heat pump, which is for this particular area, it's ideal for Tampa Bay area, the reverse cycle air conditioning.
The other thing I was going to ask you too, like, have you noticed over the years some of the manufacturers are manufacturing units that are kind of more specifically designed for climates like Florida? Like, is there any difference in one carrier to the next? No,
I haven't noticed that. I know that the federal government got involved and they have seasonal or efficiency zones. Let's say Tampa falls into a zone where your minimum standard is 14.
What does that mean?
Well, 14 seasonal energy efficiency ratios are determined how efficient the machine is, and they do that by getting the wattage and divided by the BTU capacity, and they come up with a rating. The higher the rating, the more efficient the machine.
And that's what's known as the SEER?
SEER rating.
Okay, SEER,
right.
Yeah.
So the higher the SEER, the more efficient the machine, but there comes a point in time, cost factor gets involved, and
or it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, and the federal government again gets involved. They only let you rate it at the highest level, or the lowest level, or whatever. So if you have a 22 system that operates 2-speed, you can't actually determine that 22 SEER rating. You may have to go a little bit lower, but then in the field, that's in a laboratory. This is all, they'll tell you, well, you're going to get 14 SEER in a controlled environment. But when you put it out here in Tampa.
With the handler in the attic.
The air handler in the attic, the tight duct system, and the small return, you may not have 14 SEER anymore. You may actually have a 9.
Oof, that hurts.
Yeah.
So out of curiosity, how often when you guys come in to reevaluate for a new system, do you ever decide, because for example, if you see a 2-story house, you may have 2 units, one up, one down. Mm-hmm. How often, like especially like maybe on a 1-story plan, say it's a significant size house, I don't know, maybe it's 4,000 square feet, maybe somewhere a little smaller. Do you ever maybe have the empty nesters that pretty much live on one side of the house and the rest of the house is just pretty much for guests? Do they ever split those units up or put 2 smaller units? You ever see anything like that?
We've had houses that have 3 or 4 units or different systems in there, and the way they control the environment there is, they keep the thermostat set at probably about 80, 81 degrees, and that way it dehumidifies, but it doesn't run all day long. Because remember, the house is designed for air conditioning, and when the unit's turned off, you have to think about the house like a sponge, and when the air conditioner's not running, the sponge is getting wetter and wetter and wetter, and we're trying to dry out that sponge.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, and if you're not using the air conditioning unit, then that sponge is full. So when you turn it back on, it's going to run a long time to take out the moisture.
Is it ever clogged sometimes when you turn it back on because it's been off? Does that happen often?
What happens there is that when the longer that it's off, that algae and the debris that's in the drain line will actually harden. And then, depending on the flush, it's not going to flush itself out. There's no pressure on the water that's coming off the evaporator coil. So whatever's in that drain is going to get enhanced. And that's why it's important to, clean the drain lines, the evaporator coils.
So if someone's leaving for the holidays or for vacation, Tommy, what do you think they should set their thermostat on just to make sure that thermostat is okay and it's operating as intended?
I wouldn't go any higher than 82 degrees.
Okay.
I would leave it at about 80, 81, 82, but I wouldn't go any higher than that.
Okay. So is there a range or just pretty much leave it on 80, 81?
I would leave it at 81, 82. You see what happens at 70 degrees, at 70% relative humidity, a lot of things happen inside a house. A lot of things.
There's a lot of science going on there we're not aware about.
Right. And a lot of people don't even think about it.
No. It's just not something that most people would really give a whole lot of thought to. I would love to talk about like rebates and credits. Are there any tax rebates or credits right now for these new systems? And, we've seen a lot of times the Nest systems. Do you guys install those? Those are a lot of the smart home features we're starting to see.
Very smart. They're smarter than me.
So talk about those, because we love the technology stuff. We'd love to talk about the smart home. So
Nest makes a very nice thermostat that it actually operates on your usage. It's a smart little device that as you use it, it remembers. So it almost automatically controls the environment the way you used it in the past. And then if you make changes, then it hooks up to your Wi-Fi. It hooks up to your smartphone
with an app.
Right, and then Honeywell came out with some of those that are very energy efficient also. The competition and the technology is tremendous.
Yeah.
So, you have to keep up on some of the, dehumidification cycles. You have some that'll tell you when to change your filter. There's a lot of devices that
a refrigerator does that now. It tells us when to change the filter. It's pretty crazy. So can someone install these smart features? Like, for example, the Nest, let's say their air conditioning unit outside in the handler, everything's running fine, but they just want to install the thermostat. Is that possible?
It's possible.
Is there any impact on the system?
No, there's no impact on the system, but there's impact. Well, it depends on who's installing it. Number one, the first biggest mistake is that they don't write the wires, color the wires down, and they'll get them a little bit confused, and they'll blow the thermostat, blow the transformer.
Ouch.
So, I actually like it when someone tries to install it themselves. So, maybe a service call. But Nest.
See, I would be the one to call you. My husband would be like, let me YouTube this and figure it out. I love it, but that's just how it is.
A lot of people go to Home Depot and they buy a thermostat there, and they go home and try to install it. But Nest has a 1-800 number that you can call, and they'll walk you right through it. It has an installation guide, and even ask you if you're a pro or
an amateur homeowner.
Yeah, they ask you that too. So.
I know it changes all the time, but do you know if there's any tax rebates or credits right now for that type of stuff, or for new systems?
New systems, I think the rebates start at 15 SEER. There's a federal tax credit of $300 if you haven't received one in the past, but it's a one-time credit, and they will actually take $300 off your tax bill.
And again, all this stuff changes. So, of course, ask your CPA, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff.
And then you have to meet the certain criteria. It has to be a certain level of EER rating. And rather than seasonal, it has to be EER. And
this is kind of a loaded question, but how long does it take to install a new system? It obviously depends on the size and the time of year. Like if we call you on July 21st, that delay may be a little longer, right?
Maybe a couple of days. But normally it just takes a day if you're replacing. If you're installing a new cutout or a new cut in, whatever, it takes a little bit longer.
That's fantastic. So you're listening to Tommy Castellano. He's with Castellano Air Conditioning and Heating. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. It's about that time. We have to take another really quick break at the bottom of the hour. We will be back in just a minute, and we're going to talk about some more of those things you can do to keep and maintain your system to make it last as long as possible. And if it doesn't, you can call Tommy. We'll be back in just a minute.
Good thing we're talking about air conditioning this weekend. Your traffic and weather's next. When your life turns upside down because of an injury caused by someone else's negligence, call Pop and Gipe, a personal injury law firm. They'll protect your rights with aggressive representation. Pop and Gipe, 727-461-HELP, or log on to popandgipe.com. US 19 northbound still got the accident blocking a lane between 580 and Curlew. And another problem, 54 and Collier Parkway, Seminole south of Walsingham. We're getting details right now. No sooner do you say US 19 northbound still blocking, and we're looking on the cameras right now, and they are moving that out of the way. That is good news. All the bridges still checking clear. This report is brought to you by Compassion International. Every child is born with talents, hopes, and dreams, but poverty will steal those dreams. You can help a child find hope when you become their sponsor with Compassion International. Give a child a chance to dream again. Find out how at compassion.com/radio. 65 in Tampa, warming up already. 66 in St. Petersburg.
Diabetes and increasing levels of prediabetes are a concern for all Americans. Addressing this epidemic is an uphill battle that places a huge burden on the U.S. healthcare system and results in billions of dollars of lost productivity each year. I'm Representative Amanda Murphy from Florida, and I want you to know the importance of getting screened for type 2 diabetes. Early intervention is critical to help control blood sugar levels. Consistently high blood sugar levels in the body are dangerous and may not present symptoms until it's too late. In fact, type 2 diabetes significantly increases the risk of complications including heart disease, kidney damage, and eye damage. If you have type 2 diabetes, your doctor can work with you to develop an early intervention treatment plan, including diet and exercise that fit your lifestyle. Be proactive about your health, and please talk with your doctor today about testing your blood sugar levels. To learn more, visit womeningovernment.org.
You know, one of the most important things this holiday season is that our customers get to save some money because, you know, around the holidays, you don't want to be spending all your money paying bills. You'd like to have a little extra so that you can spend it on gifts for your family, time with your family, maybe take them out to a nice dinner, maybe go on a little vacation. Maybe your family doesn't live nearby. You want to go visit them. So this holiday season, we want to make sure that you get the best financing you possibly can when you're purchasing or leasing a new vehicle. And we have a solution.
HugeKiaCredit.com.
HugeKiaCredit.com, the web of happiness, if you will. And we call it that because it's the easiest, hassle-free way to apply for financing. And folks, chances are great that we can find the terms that suit your needs. So log on, don't prejudge your credit. Log on to HugeKiaCredit.com and then shop Fusillo Kia. We want to make sure you get to keep a little extra cash in your pockets for the holidays so that your holidays are
huge. Here's a recipe for some fun. Take 2 microphones and a telephone. Then mix in a redneck like Q105's Mason Dixon and a former Army sergeant and radio guy like Charlie Oakes. Put them on the radio every day at 11 a.m. Turn them loose, then open up the phone lines to add spice with your comments. The result is an entertaining hour on Mason Dixon Wide Open with the Sarge. You can be part of the show every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. till noon on Money Talk 1010. Your toll-free number to call in is 888-404-1010. They'll be talking about whatever's on their minds and your mind. And with these two, you never know where that'll take them. No subject is going to be out of bounds. Just keep it clean. The subjects go from political talk to what's happening in Tampa Bay. And they love anything with wheels and an engine, so cars will always be a subject. Listen to Money Talk 1010 every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. for Mason Dixon Wide Open with the Sarge on Money Talk 1010.
Welcome back. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell, and today's show is all about transitioning for that crazy weather between hot and cold. Our special guest is air conditioning owner Tommy Castellano. He's with Castellano Air Conditioning and Heating, and we have a special guest kind of hanging out in the studio, and during the break, she's like, I have a question. I said, well, we're out of time. You got to wait, and you can ask your question as soon as we come back. So I'll go ahead and let her ask that question for Tommy, and then we'll jump into some other stuff.
I have a unit. Okay, this is in a large building. It goes penthouse. I think it's like 10 stories, okay? And The units are older. They're replaced. We have a drain line that goes down in their main drain line. If they don't clean their main drain line, they back up. So I usually add a couple drops of bleach to it to keep it cleaned out into my system and theirs. That won't hurt it, right?
It won't hurt it as long as it's diluted.
Well, of course.
You dilute it a little bit. It won't hurt.
That and sometimes a little vinegar and water.
One or the other. Don't do both. Don't mix them.
You can't put them together. You know what'll happen.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that's exactly pretty much on point for what we're going to talk about next is that preventative maintenance. Like, how can someone do some of the preventative and regular maintenance themselves? And then, sometimes people just might not want to do it. So then talk about what's the cost if you guys do it. So as a DIY homeowner, what should we be doing? And we talked about that. So if we can walk a homeowner through that, how to put the vinegar and or, not both, bleach in a system and why that matters.
Right. Well, on today's market, the air conditioning systems they're being installed where the drain line has a clean out. So you can actually take the cap off and pour the chemicals inside the drain line to clean it. The homeowner can do that if you want. Sometimes they're in the attic, and then they're not accessible. So we recommend maintenance in Florida, in Tampa, at least twice a year. Especially once you start having that problem with algae, it's very hard to kill it. As a matter of fact, it's almost impossible. So what happens is whatever's in the drain line is going to be enhanced. So once you, let's say you clean a drain line in 6 months, 6 months later, it grows back. And it grows back faster. Mold.
It's comes back with a vengeance. It's ready to bite.
Bacteria and mold like that is very intelligent organism.
So Tommy, what's the cost to do that twice a year service where you guys come out and you tell them, what do you check for exactly again?
Well, we check the evaporator coil and we put in a solution of disinfectant, and it's self-rinsing.
Is that similar to what a homeowner would do with bleach or vinegar?
No, not with that. Not that.
But I mean, you guys don't, but a homeowner could, right? What you use is a little different.
We're talking about the drain line where you just it's not going into your airstream. The chemicals.
See, that's why somebody like me would not do it. I would call you. I'm just saying.
Right. But then we check the blower wheel for dust and whatever bacterial growth that could be growing inside the air handler, and that would need to be cleaned and disinfected. And the outdoor coil should be rinsed. It doesn't. Usually they don't get particularly impact unless the lawn maintenance guy is mowing the grass and letting it go inside the unit. The refrigerant
cracks me
pressure.
up, these guys that like my husband works for stormwater, so he'll literally see these guys blow the stuff in the storm drain. It's like, oh my gosh, that goes out to the bay. You really should not be doing that.
Right. Yeah, well, a lot of things go out in that bay.
That's what it reminded me of. So what for that regular service, like, is there an option for the homeowner to do it either annually or semi-annually? And what's the cost for that?
We do a $159.95 inspection, and it's twice a year. And if they want to do it less than that, it's $89.95.
And you take care of whatever has to happen when you're there?
It includes a spray that we spray on the disinfectant. Now, some coils, like if you have somebody that hasn't done maintenance in 5 years, that evaporator coil is probably impacted with algae and mold and dirt. And that would need to actually probably come out of the machine and be cleaned. And that's a major, it's like surgery.
So the basic inspection is like $159.95 or $89 if it's every 6 months. But if you get out there and you find stuff, that could cost a little more.
It could, a little bit.
Yeah.
But normally it's $59.95.
And
most of the people are using these high-end filters. They're getting them at Home Depot, which really affects the machine a little bit. But it puts the static pressure goes up a little bit. But
what does it use? What's the how long does it take when your service technicians come out? Is that roughly an hour or so?
About an hour. Mm-hmm.
And then what's your service area?
My service area is Tampa, St. Petersburg, Pinellas County, a little bit of Pasco County.
So Hillsborough, probably South Central Pasco, and
about
Pinellas.
25-mile radius.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Can you offer any special discounts or promotions for our listeners at Tampa Home Talk?
Sure, if they mention the show, we're doing 15%.
Great. So if you call in to Castellano Air Conditioning and Heating and you mention Tampa Home Talk or you mention my name, Katrina Madewell, they're going to give you a 15% discount.
Mention Katrina, we're going to go up a little bit.
Oh, sounds good. Sounds good. I love it. Thank you. And so what about the AC filters? Is that something where they should change that every single month? Is that highly recommended, especially with pets?
Yes. We could either buy a filter or be a filter.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
so he's got this little thing. We're going to have to take a picture of that, Lisa, and post that on Tampa Home Talk so that, our people that are listening can also see what he has here in the studio. But he literally has this paper. It says, buy a filter or be a filter. And that's interesting that you brought that.
And both filters are going to clean the air.
So what happens if they don't buy a filter and then the body becomes a filter? If we could touch on that for a second and then back to the original question.
Some people are very, very sensitive to what goes on in the air conditioning system. Some people have allergies. Some people have asthma. Some people just can't tolerate any of the bacteria or viruses that are accumulating there. So it just depends on the person. You have a family of 4. One of those people that are living in that house are going to be affected by what's going on. But most people don't know it because the symptoms are like flu-like. So they may think they're having the flu, but actually is being caused by your air conditioning system. Legionnaire's disease that was discovered, many years ago came from the air conditioning evaporator coils.
So how does someone know that? Like, is there any symptoms or signs that you're aware of?
The biggest sign is walking into the house and you can almost feel the after 40 years, I can almost feel it when I walk in the house.
You can, because you've done that for 40 years. And I'm going to notice a lot of stuff in the real estate space after doing it for not quite as long.
Right.
But so how does the average person know that they don't actually have the flu? It's their AC making them sick?
Well, they don't know that. They'd have to have an inspection. And one of the things is when we ask, when we go to the house, we say, is anybody getting sick often, or do they have breathing problems, or does anybody in here have allergies? And then, we know what to check for. If somebody's, they're coughing and they're really, their sinuses are clogged, and you tell them, well, it may be coming from the air conditioning system. Have you cleaned your ductwork? We had a friend that was always sick, and I told him, I said, have you checked your air conditioner? You changed your filter or whatever? And he says, what filter?
What filter? So he's probably never changed that thing as long as he lived there?
It was like molded into the crate that it was in there. So,
well, I mean, we have pets, and so I've always been told you should change that thing at least once a month. And then, vacuum out the return near it and that sort of stuff.
There are different levels of filters, and pet hair is something that's going to get through the inexpensive filters. And that collects on the coil. And then, I don't know if you never noticed what happens. Most people haven't seen what happens to the evaporator coil when dirt gets on it. It corrodes. It rots. So can you imagine when you leave a food out for a week and you get mold on it? Well, that's what's happening inside your air conditioning system. Whatever gets through the filter collects on the evaporator coil, and then when it's on the off cycle, the air handler is the place where the humidity is high because you're making water or you're removing water or moisture. The temperature is a little bit different, and most of the parts in there are reaching its dew point, so everything's sweating. So they don't understand that those 3 conditions, the dirt, the moisture, and the humidity, you have the perfect place for bacteria and things to grow.
I was going to say, that's like a lunch buffet for bacteria, isn't it?
You described it perfectly, a buffet.
Well, your analogies are pretty good because I'm tracking with you pretty well, so I imagine the person listening is too. Yeah. So it's interesting that you mentioned that, and it's, in that, I'll never, like, for example, this thing that you're showing me, I will never get that out of my mind. Like, buy a filter or be a filter. I will never get that out of my mind.
Well, we have that for our sales, our service techs, because some people just don't see the importance of a proper filtration system.
So do you guys do the ultraviolet lights or anything in
we do that.
Can we talk about that? Is that for your ultra hypersensitive people to allergies?
Well, that's almost for everybody, really. What the ultraviolet light does, it changes the DNA of viruses and it changes the DNA of bacteria. And it's not going to filter anything because you need a filter for those dead particles to get captured. But the ultraviolet actually purifies the air.
Now, where does that go in the system, and does it require any additional maintenance?
I've seen them, manufacturers say they can go in the return before the evaporator coil. They can go into the supply after the evaporator coil, or can go right inside the air handler. And a lot of them are going right inside the air handler and doing that. But remember, this is ultraviolet.
Right.
So whatever you put it, you have to be a little bit careful what it's going to do to the surrounding like electrical wires. It's just like leaving something out in the sun, and it'll deteriorate the wires of an air handling unit.
So you have to be careful where you put it,
right.
I'm sure.
Some of them come with a little shield so that it doesn't hit that, but the air is going over it and being disinfected.
How much extra does that add to the cost of the unit?
It depends on the quality of the ultraviolet light. The least expensive one would probably add about $525, somewhere in there. That's very inexpensive, and that's at the time of
just a one-time cost,
right? And
no,
the bulb has to be maintained. The bulbs are only good for a year or maybe 2 years,
and then you guys have to change them out. What's the cost for that?
About $85.
Okay. So do the electric air cleaners, do those things really work?
Electronic air cleaners, they work. What a lot of people are scared because it generates a little bit of ozone, and but it's really not enough to hurt anybody or do anything. But they're very expensive. They're probably about $1,500.
Wow.
Installed, yeah. But they do work.
Another question too that we get pretty often, and I really am not sure how to answer this, but the the registers and the vents, if someone's not occupying a certain space of a home, maybe it's a guest room that's empty a lot of the times, is it okay to close that off?
Not really. What happens is that the house was designed for whole house air conditioning, room by room, and when you close off the vent, let's say you close off the vent to here, and that's an outside wall, what happens is that becomes the outside wall, and this room is going to get a lot warmer. So the load doesn't change. The load is actually, it doesn't change at all. You're not really saving anything. Then you're putting pressure on your duct system. Remember we talked about static pressure. Mm-hmm. The higher the pressure, the less capacity of the machine. So you're putting a higher static pressure on your supply, and it's not, but some people, they say, hey, if it's not being used, don't use it.
Yeah. I think I'm going to change the status and the title of our show to The Science Behind Air Conditioning because it's gotten so good. I'm your host, Katrina Madewell. We're here today. Tommy Castellano. Got to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a minute.
There's a brand new daily hour of fun and information on Money Talk 1010. Hi, this is Mason Dixon from the morning show, not only on Q105, but now a morning show on Mason Dixon Wide Open with Charlie the Sarge Oaks. And we get crazy every day from 11 to noon on our show, talking about just about anything. I want you to check us out Monday through Friday and join us for some conversation. Because it's not only what's on our mind, it's what's on your mind as well. You can put your 2 cents worth in, even if it's worth way more than that. We always keep the phone lines open, 1-888-404-1010. And no subject is out of bounds. Well, you got to keep it clean. We do family stuff here. Now, the Sarge and I are both motorheads, so we do car talk. We've got a special segment that runs in the show every day. So if you're into cars, we got it for you. Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Mason Dixon, Wide Open with the Sarge.
Let's face it, having a criminal arrest record really stinks. And it hurts when others make unfair judgments about you. Employers, landlords, lenders, even the person you may want to date. Take down this number, 813-254-9205. Attorney Jim Souza has sealed and expunged arrest records for more than 20 years. Go to restoremyname.net or call 813-254-9205.
Are you looking for your next home? The truth is that most buyers want a home, not a real estate agent. I understand. But factually, you need an experienced agent on your team like me. I'm Katrina Madewell with
Keller Williams Realty,
host of Tampa Home Talk. And I've been in the real estate and mortgage industry selling homes for more than 23 years. And it would be our pleasure to help you find your next home. Love where you live or I'll fix it. Welcome home. 813-936-2302. 813-936-2302.
Are you ready to start building your dream home? Berkshire Homes is your answer. Berkshire Homes offers high-quality construction, hands-on service, and the ability to track your home's progress through the cloud. They have 40 years of combined experience building exclusive high-quality homes throughout the Tampa Bay area. Start building your dream home right now. Contact them, 813-982-4229. That's 813-982-4229. Or on the web at floridaluxuryhomes.net.
Hey guys, Bubba with Flats Mafia Radio here. Have you guys heard about Sea Mule? Well, let me tell you something about Sea Mule. They're the world's best fishing carts. You can use them at the pier. You can use them while you wade fish. They're very compact and they're very durable. You can customize your own cart. It fits in a compact vehicle. No need for a truck or a van. They have a long line of accessories. You can check them out at seamule.com. Also at Facebook and Instagram. Sea Mule.
Welcome back. You're listening to Tampa Home Talk. Thanks for sticking with us to the break. We're here same time, same place every week. And our special guest for today's show is Tommy Castellano. He's with Castellano Air Conditioning and Heating. If you mention Tampa Home Talk or my name, Katrina Madewell, they're going to give you a special discount and deal just for whether your regular maintenance or if you have to maybe replace your entire system. Now, one more thing that we had it in our FAQ, so I want to make sure we cover it. So what is IAQ? What is that?
IAQ is indoor air quality. It's the quality of the air that you're breathing. Because people spend 65% of their time inside their home, 90% of the time indoors, but 65% of the time in their home. A lot of times people work from home, so you want to be sure that your air that you're breathing inside the house is clean. It should be cleaner than what is outside. But the EPA estimates that the average home is probably the air inside the home is probably 2 to 5 times dirtier than the air outside.
That's kind of scary, really.
Yeah, it is.
So what's the EPA's recommendation on that? If the air quality inside your home is worse than the air quality inside, how do you fix that?
With proper filtration.
Okay.
And the little filters that, you go to Home Depot and you see those pleated filters, they're only a 1-inch thick, and it's like trying to put a pillow over your head and say, breathe. Well, you're telling your air conditioning system, hey, try to breathe now. And they just simply can't do the proper job with that kind of filter. Now, you don't notice it because that during those months of October till July, you're not operating at the main capacity that you need. So, and some houses are oversized anyway. So you're not getting your full 3 ton of air conditioning with that particular filter, and you're not getting the SEER rating with that particular filter. If you're going to put some kind of pleated allergy filter,
I would imagine, does it shorten the life of the unit too, Tommy?
Yeah, it does, because your operating pressures, the air conditioning unit is freon cooled, and you want to make sure that no liquid gets back to the compressor. And sometimes the refrigerant can't boil off in time, so it does affect the life expectancy. But then again, it's something that we can't see inside of. We can tell you what's going on. But putting a stethoscope on your heart, and we know how many times it's beating. We can do that with refrigerant gauges and tell you what's going on inside the system. But we can't tell you, look inside and say, well, your valves are bad or whatever.
And so, I'm sorry, you started to make another point. You were going to talk about something with regards to that and the air quality.
Right. If you're going to use a pleated filter, they need to be at least 5 inches, so that the filter, the surface area of the filter is so great that it will actually reduce the static pressure on the air conditioning system itself. And then you should check the static pressure after you install that filter to make sure it's within range.
So when you say static pressure, what do you mean by that, and how does somebody check that?
Well, static pressure is designed by the manufacturer. The air handlers are designed for 0.05 static pressure or 0.5 static pressure on the system itself. So everything that we do to the unit, we put in ductwork, we put filters that increases or decreases. It's not going to decrease it, but it increases the static pressure on the air conditioning system itself. As the pressure goes up, the capacity of the unit goes down. So if you have let's say a 1.5 static pressure, then you're probably moving maybe half the air that you need to be moving. And that's another way of diagnosing certain problems. But it all goes back to that duct system. It has to be installed properly.
And it's not really something that the homeowner can check, right? Like that's something an AC person usually has to check.
Yeah, most of the time.
What about the indoor air quality? Are there any things you could buy from like Home Depot or Lowe's just to kind of check out your?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen any indoor air, UV lights or anything like that, because UV lights, you can't look at it, because it'll damage your eyes. So you have to be careful when you install it. I don't think the people that the department stores are ready for that kind of exposure for lawsuits or stuff like that. I'm not sure how that would work, but I know that I haven't seen any of those in the field yet. But normally we install it and recheck it and make sure that everything's working properly.
So do you have any crazy stories for us being in the business for 40 years? Is there anything like you or one of your technicians went out there and you're like, oh my gosh, I will never see this again for as long as I'm in my career?
I remember it was about 20 years ago. I was taking call for our guys because I do that every once in a while. And a customer called up and said that he needed a emergency service. It was 2:00 in the morning. And I said, man, it's 2:00 in the morning. He said, yeah, but my son is in a body cast. And from the chest down, I need it real bad. So I got up and I got there probably about 2:30, 3 o'clock. And I'm working the air conditioning. We're getting ready to run. And the next door neighbor was his father. And he came over and he says, man, what are you doing? I said, I'm working on the air conditioning. And he says, you mean you tell me he couldn't wait till
7 a.m.?
Till 7? And I said, no. He says, he got a son in a body cast. He says, you don't have no son in no body cast.
And you didn't ask to see the son when you went there?
No,
oh, my gosh.
So, you have stories like that.
People are so crazy. Like,
right. They're desperate.
Any wild pets you ever seen, like a lion or anything in the house?
We've seen, some snakes and, things like that. Everybody has a unique little quirk, So you just be careful what you say.
You ever have those times where you walk in the house and you're like, oh, I can tell what this coil is going to look like?
We never judge. Because, the ones that you think are going to be very, very clean
they're
are
nice.
the ones that are the dirtiest.
Yeah, and vice
then
versa.
the ones that you think, well, look, you can't even breathe into this house. We've been in houses where that lady had like 40 cats.
Wow.
And you walked in the house and tried to take a breath. You couldn't even breathe. And we're telling you have to get rid of the cats. We just can't go in there.
I've been in properties I want to scratch my eyes out, like the cat's so bad. Like it's, but that's part of the difficult job I get to do. I get to go in and say the stuff that no one else will say so that we can prepare the home for sale. It's, and I don't beat around the bush. I pretty much say it like it is because, you need to hear it. Sometimes it's just painful, but it's the way it is.
Absolutely.
So Tommy Castellano with Castellano Air Conditioning and Heating. So how can we reach you? What's the best way to catch up with you by phone and
by phone?
web?
Our number is area code 813-877-6997. And we're family owned and operated. The woman that answers the phone is my sister-in-law.
What's her name?
Her name is Lindy.
So call Lindy at 813-877-6997.
Yes.
And tell her Katrina Madewell sent you over with Tommy Castellano.
Yeah, she'll take care of it.
And are you guys on the web too?
Yes.
What's your website?
It's aircastellano@aol.com.
Okay. So email. Air Castellano AOL is your email? Yes.
No, it's castellano@aol.com, and then the website is air.
Backwards. I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, aircastellano.com is the website.
Gotcha. And so one more time, you can reach out to them by phone, 813-877-6997. Again, that's 813-877-6997.
The website has a click, too, where you can just schedule it.
Great.
Right there.
Just mention Tampa Home Talker. My name is Katrina Madewell, and they are going to hook you up. Thank you so much for joining me today, Tommy.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Remember, love where you live, or I'm going to fix it every single time. Welcome home.
Thank you.
The preceding program was paid for by Katrina Madewell. The views and opinions expressed on this program were those of Katrina Madewell and not those of Beasley Media Group, this station, its management, or other hosts or advertisers.
Tampa Bay's business address is Money Talk 1010 AM and available on HD at 99.5 HD2. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Money Talk 1010 AM. Tampa Bay's business address. The radio station you're listening to is Tampa Bay's business address. Money Talk 1010, transmitting from Florida's Sun Coast. Our addresses are 1010 on the AM radio dial, 99.5 HD2 on the FM dial, and worldwide on our website, moneytalk1010.com, or on the free Money Talk 1010 app in the App Store. Money Talk 1010 is about your life, your love, your relationships, and especially your money. Listen to us anywhere on one of our 4 addresses. Money Talk 1010.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Costa, host of the Costa Report. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m., Saturday at 2 p.m., and Sunday at 11 a.m. This week, we will be rebroadcasting one of our favorite interviews of 2016. The founder of eHarmony, Dr. Neil Clark Warren, has a few tips on how to find true, lasting love in the new year. Don't miss Dr. Neil Clark Warren right here on Money Talk 1010 AM, Tampa Bay's business address.
WHFS Sefner, WQYK FM HD2 St. Petersburg, 106.9 FM, W295 CF Clearwater.